Hello and welcome to the latest Capital and Kayfabe. I'm your co-host JP Japaj, the two-man power trip, of course. Joining me is the political pundit, the former campaign manager, the author, the journalist, the wrestling historian, Mr. Jack Hunter. Jack, welcome in. How you doing?
Good to be with you as always, John.
Kind of start off with a little bit of politics, but a little bit of wrestling here. Let's mix them like we always love to do. A new tag team, but maybe coming out of Washington D.C., and I don't know what to make of it. Donald Trump and Rand Paul. Is this a possible tag team? What is going on with these two? And I thought they weren't getting along, but it seems like maybe they are.
Well, they have a tumultuous relationship, we'll put it that way. When the presidential election happened in 2016 and Rand Paul was running for president, I think Rand called Trump orange-faced, whatever, and he basically called Trump short and stuff like that. Then Trump won, MAGA happened, and they became quick friends, especially over the America First non-interventionist foreign policy stuff and making fun of the hawks and the neocons in the party. Then in the second term, we get to this point where Trump's kind of going back on a lot of what he promised with MAGA. Doge really doesn't exist anymore. That was a big thing that Rand was on board with. We were on the brink of war with Venezuela. And Rand's critical of it, just like Marjorie Taylor Greene or anybody else who actually believed in MAGA to begin with. And Trump calls, Rand all sorts of names and diminishes him and demeans him. But here we are, what you're talking about, where in Trump's first term, he and Rand Paul got together on what they called health savings accounts. It has a much longer and more fantastical name than that, but that's what it is. And the idea is that individuals who don't work for a place where they receive health insurance, as so many Americans do through their work, can form alliances, and they don't all have to be of a certain craft, the way healthcare is, through unions and whatnot, or organized so often today. But you literally could have like Costco health insurance or Best Buy health insurance through this idea that Trump and Rand Paul had. Well, Trump signed that as an executive order. These groups would have leverage to lower premiums by independently uniting and working as a group, if that makes sense. That's illegal right now, but this would make it legal, this idea that Rand Paul had. In Trump's first term, he signed an executive order allowing this for a certain amount of people, and Democratic attorney generals in different states sort of blocked it, so it never really got off the ground. What Rand Paul wants to do is he has legislation in Congress, in a Republican-dominated House, Republican-dominated Congress, to pass this thing and for Trump to sign it, and that's a little different than an executive order, and it could have teeth. Rand Paul texted Donald Trump like, hey, I know we've been on opposite sides recently, but we did this thing in our first term. I think we should do it now. I've got this legislation. Let's work together if you're interested, and we can lower healthcare insurance rates for so many Americans. Trump didn't say yes. He didn't say no to what we know. I don't know what he texted him back, but he shared Rand's entire text on his Truth Social with the little eyeballs icon like, ooh, what's up with this? So a lot of people were excited about it. People that like Rand, don't like Rand, like Trump, don't like Trump. A lot of people are excited about the idea of this idea actually passing, being implemented, and bringing healthcare costs down. That's the kind of relief Americans need right now. Because, a lot of, especially families, I don't have any kids or anything, but, you see these things where just a working class, everyday middle class guy has to pay $20,000 a year for insurance for him and his family, that kind of stuff. So, anything to fix that would be good. And Rand Paul and Donald Trump tag teaming once again on that would be nice.
Man, that's so interesting. Like the up and down nature maybe of Trump. He's with somebody, he's against him, he's with him, he's against him. Just seemed like very helter-skelter with those two.
It is. It's not ideological for Trump. When Marjorie Taylor Greene or Rand Paul are like, Trump said this and we agree with it, now he's doing the opposite, they are right. Trump is like, who's being nice to me? Who's the last guy I talked to? Hey, who flattered me? It's all that. It's transactional. What can I get for you and you get from me? And who's being nice to me and who's being loyal? With Marjorie Taylor Greene, Rand Paul, Thomas Massie, it's like, what's the principle involved? Is he on the right or wrong side of it? Is he doing what he promised or is he betraying that? That's where they're coming from. You asked the question, John. That's exactly what it is. And people could debate me about that if they want to, but it's pretty clear.
Man, weird and wild stuff there from that unthought of tag team there. It's kind of like, putting two guys together in wrestling that you wouldn't necessarily think would get along, but they can get along on certain issues. Little team Hell No, if you will, with Danielson and Kane.
That's right. Best team since Hell No, if that works out, and I hope it does.
Oh yeah, for sure. So as far as what's going on in the grand scheme of things over there in DC, the January 6th, the pipe bomber, if you will, was found out to be somebody that wasn't maybe expected. What I don't. It's so crazy with this stuff. I don't know what to believe, what not to believe. So Biden's FBI let it go and didn't pursue obvious clues, or it's just being made up to make it seem like that way. You know what I mean? Like you never know who to believe and what to believe because Brian Cole is obviously this black lefty liberal, hated Trump against MAGA type of guy, but then they would have you to believe, and they had you to believe for all these years that it wasn't this type of guy. It was a MAGA guy that did the pipe bomb.
Right.
So what the heck? What's going on? What's wrong? What's right?
The same with Tyler Robinson and the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Yeah.
Like so many questions, what's true and what's not. With the J6 pipe bomber, what they're presenting now was a MAGA Trump supporter who was mad at the 2020 election results and thought they were rigged, as the president said, or something like that. Is that real? I don't know. But you do see a grand hesitancy in Washington to not want to investigate these things and to back off and just whatever narrative serves the interests of the major parties. They just kind of let that linger and dominate and not get into the intricacies of these things. This J6 pipe bomber is a good example of that. I don't know, John. I mean, that's the reports are that he was a Trump supporter who was upset about the 2020 election and he did what he did. Is that true? I don't know.
Crazy stuff. So it's almost like, yeah, we can believe it. We don't know what to believe. Like I just go back and forth on this stuff. I was like, wait, it's exactly who we thought it wasn't, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But is that who they want us to believe? It's one of those weird ones to me.
It's where, I mean, I'm a child of the 80s, and what Walter Cronkite said, people basically believed. I'm dating myself here, but there was a time in America where you'd watch the news for an hour or 30 minutes in the evening, and what they said, you pretty much could believe it. And that's what's going on in the world and in your country, right? We don't live in that world at all anymore. We have 24/7 news. Cable news has been a thing for 3 or 4 decades. Of course, you have social media and the internet. And, God bless the person that believes everything they see and hear anymore, because that's foolish.
Yeah, I don't know if those people still exist, but they do. Or if they should still exist, but they do, where they just believe things blindly. But again, I'm also maybe too skeptical because I'm kind of basically, not believing a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? They think that they want me to believe.
Well, that's the problem with it. You can go either way in either direction. So, like, I'm an anti-war guy. I meet anti-war people sometimes who are so anti-war they begin to sympathize with the enemy, which is what the pro-war people always accuse them of doing. You know what I'm saying? That's a mistake. You don't do that. I don't think we should be sending money to Ukraine. That doesn't mean I like Vladimir Putin. You see what I'm saying? Same with this kind of stuff. You see people like, oh, they didn't walk on the moon, or whatever basic facts that we should all agree on. They're even questioning that. Did the Holocaust happen? Stuff, there's all sorts of different versions of this. So there's a danger in either way. Years ago, when like Alex Jones was out there doing his thing, and I could be like, hey, my fellow Ron Paul supporters, we have a serious philosophy about governance, about what government should look like. Don't associate it with that conspiracy guy over there. I would write columns about this. Well, now basically everybody's Alex Jones. I mean, Hillary Clinton basically thinks that the 2016 election was stolen by Russia. That's something Alex Jones would say. So, like, I don't even single him out anymore, and I'm kind of embarrassed to ever made fun of him. Like, everybody's like that now. It's like pornography. Conspiracy theories can be. It's like, it's not a matter of it's right or true, even good for you. It's just salacious and something you want. It's a cravenness. So that can be bad. And I preface that with the people telling you what's A, B, and C, and what's true and what's not are lying to you half the time. So
it feels like we go round and round in circles here. The left is working, the right's working, and maybe even working in unison to do some stuff, because it seems to have that nature where it's like, oh, it's the left, and the right, left. You know what I mean? It's a little shady there. And the Brian Cole Jr. is like, wow, that's exactly who I wouldn't think would have done it, but then that's exactly who did do it. I was believing it first, but then I was like, wait a second, let's put my thinking cap on here. They might be working us again.
Yeah, I don't know. I could tell you this. Like, was it Kash Patel, the FBI head, recently said that Tyler Robinson's definitely the guy and he's the only person involved, or something like that. I'm like, oh, that raises my suspicions immediately. Yeah. Yes. He said, like, the guy in charge who in past generations have been like, oh, well, we need to listen to this. Now I'm like, Oh, hell no. That can't be right. Like, that's
Yeah.
where we are.
Yes. Yeah. Anytime they tell you, to look left, look right, just to see if something is going on
Right.
over there, a little distraction. Yes. Yes. Now, well, you're going to be distracted. I know, maybe not in DC, but your all eyes will be on Washington D.C. this weekend for Saturday night's main event, WWE. John Cena's retirement. John Cena's the last time is now. What do you think about this? Are you liking this card? Are you liking the show? Are you into this? Will you be watching it live?
Way more even now than I was before, and I was already excited about it.
Wow.
I'm not
Wow.
watching it
Okay.
live because of the ticket prices. I'm sorry, I can't.
Right.
They've priced this fan out, and I live there half the time. That's where the first Dynamite was, at that arena, and I was there, and I paid a pretty penny for that because it sold out so quick. I had to go through StubHub or
I
something
had
like
thought
that.
about it too, about it, like Balcone, because it's not that bad. I mean, 3.5 hours, not the terrible drive for me,
It's
but
the
then I was like,
price.
ooh,
Yeah, I'm not
crazy.
paying $400 or $500 for not front row. Not that I expect that to be only $400 or $500, but see, the regular seats where I like to sit are first riser up, first three rows. That's usually somewhere between $80 to $120 for most of the history of WWE and AEW. For WWE right now, that's $300 to $400 minimum. And for something like this, it might even be higher. As far as the card, what I'll be watching from my home, I think it's fantastic. Not only do I like the idea of Gunther and Cena, some people don't, and I hope Gunther goes over. Maybe that's controversial to say. Some people, I think he goes over.
I hope so.
And the whole card are NXT people, new people, fighting veterans or people of note. I love that Javon Evans and Leon Slater, and the show will have aired after people see this, are fighting the WWE Tag Team Champions at AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. That's cool as hell. That's a match I would want to see at any given time. Javon Evans and Leon Slater. I hope they're the new WWE champions. That's not a prediction, but like that would be cool. That would be super. I don't think AJ and Dragon Lee are going to be a tag team forever, especially what AJ's 2026 is going to look like in anticipation of retirement. What else do we have in this card? We have Sol Ruka and Bailey. Is that right?
Yep.
I mean, how cool would it be if every Sol Ruka goes over, Javon and Slater go over, Gunther goes over? What's the other big one I'm missing?
Obafemi versus Cody Rhodes.
I want Obafemi to win. I think he should win. I've been saying from the beginning, I think I've said it on this show, that Obafemi should go to the main roster and beat Brock Lesnar. The reason I said that is a guy with that size, that star power, just the it factor, needs to go up there and do something big immediately. Beating Brock Lesnar would be big. You know what will also be big? Beating the WWE champion in a non-title match. So I'd like to see the whole night the underdogs win every match. That's probably not going to happen, but what a statement by Cena and what he wants to give back to the business. I think he's earnest and sincere when he's talking about that. I don't think it's just, hey, I'm good guy Cena. I think he means it.
If I was booking it, and obviously a different opinion, I'd have Obafemi destroy Cody, but Cody sneak out the win kind of thing. So you lose, but you get over when on the on the way out, if you will. You get over, but you lost. That type of thing.
That could work too. He needs to make a mark either way, and
Yes.
he will, and certainly capable. But he's money. I would say the same thing about Trick Williams, a couple other people. But I'm loving it. I'm excited about the show. I just read that Jesse Ventura is going to be on it now. After
I wanted to bring that up. It's interesting because the dirt sheets go, "Oh, Ventura's gone, his contract's up," but there was no confirmation from anybody or anything. So it's like, wow, they just make, which I've known obviously for decades, but they just make stuff up out of thin air. He's not gone. He's back. He'll be on the next show.
Right. I really enjoy Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful's Debunkathon thing he does once a week. Do you ever read those?
No, but I usually see when it pops up on Twitter. Yeah.
It's the BS stories from other sites, and he calls out the names of the sites like, hey, I'm not going to say them here because it's him saying it. But he's like, this is why you should never read this site. This story's BS. There's no confirmation of this, but it's like a whole list every week. There's plenty. But to your point, John, I have a couple sources that I believe in wrestling journalism, and I kind of stick with them. And when I see other stuff, I don't believe it until I see them say it.
Yep. But it's like, man, are we speculating here? Are we guessing that Ventura's gone, or do we think, or do we know something? And they obviously were just speculating because he wasn't on the last Saturday's main event. But he's not gone. Yeah, he's back.
Here's one of them that I think was in last week's Debunkathon. People were reporting that Rhea Ripley is in Terrifier 4, the largely successful horror movie that she loves.
Yep.
Well, apparently that was an exchange between the director or something and somebody online in which you could sort of insinuate she would be in it, but it wasn't proved. It wasn't sourced.
Yep.
And Sean Ross Sapp called that out. Like stuff like that happens all the time. So the same with Ventura. You know, you don't know what's happening. People speculate, and we just got news that he's going to be on the show Saturday. So I'm excited.
Man, it's just pure silliness to me. Some of that stuff. It just
Clickbait for money.
Yes, for sure. So obviously, Gunther beat LA Knight in the 16-man, the last is now tournament finals. Gunther goes on for the victory. Do you like the fact that LA Knight kind of got beat up? Not beat up, but he taps out, and then Gunther's basically saying he's going to make Cena tap out. Do you like just the way that whole thing went?
I do, because once again, the reporting I've seen from people I trust say that 2026, that the people in WWE Creative have big plans for Knight. I'd keep him off TV till maybe the Rumble, which is, other people. I'm not the first person to say that, obviously. And then go to the moon with him finally. He's not getting any younger. He's over as hell. So, yeah, I have no problem with it. I like it. Just out of sight, out of mind, let these other big people do what they're doing between now and the Rumble, and then bring him back in a big way. So I hope that's what they do, because I'm a fan.
Do you want Cena to win in your heart of hearts?
Do I want Cena to beat Gunther?
Yes.
I want Gunther to win, because Cena's always talked about, like, he was on his way out the door early in his career. He did leave and then came back. It was a big if he was going to make it. But it was not only, he always puts over, Kurt Angle and Ruthless Aggression, but the one I always remember was JBL and how selfless he was with John Cena and that whole U.S. championship thing. And Cena says that too. But I would just think he would want to do that for other people. That said, I was glad Sting won his last match, but that's a different kind of thing. And Sting had to be talked into it, from what I understood, between Tony Khan and the Bucks and some other people probably. Cena's one of those beloved figures. I guess he could win. It is what it is. But, like, I wasn't surprised that Ric Flair lost his last match, the one I consider his last match in 2008 with HBK. I don't know. What do you think? Am I wrong about that?
It's one of those things when you think about it, right? When they already do the putting over of the other guy, so to speak, like, he kind of already been there and done that, if you will. Like when Hogan came back in 2002, right? He did the put over the guys, whatever. So when he came back and he beats Michaels and Orton and stuff, it's like, oh, he should be putting guys. No, he did that already. He's already done that. Like,
right.
This is different. So Sting did that a million times already. So we didn't really need to see him do it all over again. I think Cena kind of did that with Cody, even at SummerSlam. You know what I mean? That's kind of like, and he put over Lesnar too, and then he put over Dominic. Isn't it almost like he already put all those guys? Although I do think this would really help Gunther. If he really wants to elevate somebody, he could be the career killer. The guy that ended Goldberg and Cena's career. Like, that would, I mean, he'd be instant. Not that he's not a main eventer now, but like instant WrestleMania, maybe main eventer.
That's kind of what I was thinking. He could be the career killer. Who's AJ Styles' last match? Oh, it's this Gunther guy's going to beat his ass too. And just make that a thing. So that's what I was thinking. I would think every guy that he beat would be like, well, hey, I was a part of that. I helped do that. So I don't know, but you're right. Cena's done that plenty. I would add Kevin Owens in the Open US Challenge to that mix, however many years ago that was, and what that looked like, with Cena. So yeah, he doesn't have to do it. He's done it plenty. The Hogan example, you're right. But I don't know. He's talked about that for years. Cena talking about people giving him a chance and getting there, and the Stephanie and the rap gimmick, and I don't know. We'll see. I can't wait to watch it.
I know Gunther will probably go a little bit lighter, if you will, on Cena, but man, I want to see him go full bore and see if Cena can take. I know he's wrestled Lesnar and gotten destroyed, but I want to see if he can take some of these chops from Gunther, because he could light him up if he wants to. Certain guys, he will just absolutely light him up. Like LA Knight, he lit up pretty badly, but I don't know if he'll do that to Cena.
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't know. I mean, Cena's got to go do movies and all sorts of things too. He can't be laid up. This is his last match. Like, don't kill the guy. With Sting, I forgot who was saying it. I think the second or third to last match, he's like jumping off the balcony and stuff. People are like, hey, calm down. Do this on your last match. And you could, be resting on the couch with a broken leg for a while or something. But,
yes, he was crazy in that run. If you really look at it, Sting, like, what the hell was he doing? Not in a bad way. And like, wow, this guy, he's crazy. He doesn't need to do this. He's Sting, but he wanted to show everybody. He still got it. It was just an amazing run. I love that run by Sting.
I do too. Did you see what he said recently about AEW? He's like, I worked in WCW, worked in WWE. He goes, AEW's really, and he's included TNA in there. He goes, AEW feels like it's mine. Like, this is my home, in a way that those other places didn't. I thought that was pretty cool of him to say.
Yeah, definitely. As opposed to Cena, who in interviews to me comes off not, I wouldn't say bad, but some of his answers are just downright awful. Like Chris Van Fleet goes, "Hey, it's supposed to be Travis Scott and The Rock. What happened there?" Dude, just it's months later. Van Fleet is, getting a million downloads. He's probably one of the most popular interview. Give him a real answer. He goes, "Who cares?" And he goes, "But what was the plan?" He goes, "Who cares?" He goes, "I don't live in the past, blah, blah." But the guy's not saying for you to live in the past. He's just wondering, like everybody else is wondering, what was the original plan? So he goes, "Oh, certain guys couldn't be there." Okay, obviously you're talking about The Rock. What happened with Travis Scott? So then you listen to Logan Paul, who's freaking great in his podcast because he literally said, he goes, "I can get away with anything. I can say whatever I want." Basically, he kind of, blurted out that Travis Scott no-showed, and they basically like, "You're gone." So that's what happened to Travis Scott. But Cena won't give a good answer in an interview. It's crazy. Even as Tom Rinaldi, when they're showing clips, his answers are so. I don't know if he's like overthinking it or what, but his answers are never straightforward. They're never good answers, and it's not like, "Oh, that's pause. It's just what you want to hear." I just feel like his answers are so fluffy and weird. Like, who could say like, "Oh, who cares about The Rock and Travis Scott"? Everyone that watched WrestleMania, like, what is going on here, Cena? Come on.
I hear what you're saying, and you're not wrong. But when like I watched that interview and I saw the same response to that question, I look at it as a guy who works in entertainment overall. And the right answer is Travis Scott was a fan who thought he wanted to do this until he found out it was a lot of hard work and he didn't. That's
which is what Logan Paul said, which is great.
Basically said. But
yes,
Cena might have to go do something with Travis Scott or somebody associated with him in the entertainment industry. And Cena's still going to be around WWE, just not wrestling in a ring. And guess who's on the TKO board? It's The Rock.
Yeah,
even though he's Cena, right? So like, I think he's measuring all these things in his head and he's giving the response. It was a crap response. I agree with you, but I'm probably less mad at it than you are. It is what it is. He's a movie star beyond the wrestling world.
I just was like, who cares? I'm like, what? Everybody. Van Fleet was like, kind of like, I know that's his buddy, but he was kind of like thrown off. He's like, what was the plan though? Like he's trying to get the answer out of him and he won't.
How do you give a straight answer without insulting either of those people?
Right.
I don't know that you can, so you just don't.
Right. The real answer is obviously The Rock had other commitments. Perhaps didn't like the creative that was brought up. I mean, obviously that could be something. I mean, there's obviously a couple different directions, but he didn't want to answer it. So we're not going to get the real answer. All we know is that at SummerSlam he turned back babyface, and we got the kind of the run maybe we should have got.
Yeah, no, you're for sure. So
with that show, it's interesting. Bailey, who's obviously Cena's buddy, is on that show. AJ, who's obviously Cena loves him. Cody, it's all kind of Cena guys that are on the Cena farewell. So obviously he's got something to do with the booking of it.
I would think so, and I would think he'd have that leeway. And Triple H said at the beginning of the announcement of his retirement, beginning of 2025, or even before that like John Cena's earned the right to call his shots or whatever and do whatever he wants. I think that's probably what you're seeing right now. I think that's why every match is somebody who could use a big win over who they're fighting, including Cena's match.
Yep.
Gunther's established. I'm just saying you could even go higher with him if he were to win or however they do it. So, but certainly, Leon Slater and Joanna Evans and Sol Daruka and all that. I mean, that would be huge for them to win those matches. Obafemi.
Are you in the Lana camp, the CJ Perry camp, where she's saying this really isn't his retirement? Are you in that camp at all? Or is this a work at all?
No. If it was heel Cena, yeah, still. But I think this is legit. I think this is I don't think this is Terry Funk saying he's going to retire for 20 years and, or anything like that. I don't. I think this is it, and that's okay.
So interesting to me, just like the dynamic of that. Let's just say the whole thing is being built up as his last match, last whatever. They would swerve the audience like that, maybe like for a year, you know what I mean? And just to have him wrestle at WrestleMania in Vegas again. So it's like, really, they do that? If I was Cena, though, I would have picked WrestleMania as the retirement, but obviously he's got projects and stuff he's working on in 2026.
Yeah, maybe so, to wait till WrestleMania and do it. But like you said, projects and yeah, I don't know. Like I heard somebody else say, what podcast I was listening to, I don't remember, but they're like, TKO likes money. And because somebody said, well, those people who bought tickets in DC, if it's not really Cena's last match, will be mad. and the other person was like, well, TKO likes money and they don't care. If
That is true. They'll literally tell a whole town that they have WrestleMania and then take it away from him 5 minutes later. So yeah.
So, but I still believe it's going to be his last match because I think he wants it to be his last match, and that matters probably more than anything else.
Man, speaking of you listening to the podcast, your boy Joe Rogan has invited Vince McMahon on his podcast. What do you think about that?
I think it would be awesome. I'd love to hear it, and I think it'll never happen because of Vince's lawyers and what's going on with all that. I could be wrong about that. I would hope I'm wrong about that, but I think that's why it doesn't happen.
So interesting, though. Couldn't you just say we can't talk about like bullet points, this, and this, or would Rogan say I want open, like I want to be able to talk about whatever?
Maybe can Vince help himself, and better yet, will Vince's lawyers expect him to be able to not go there? I don't know. We've seen Vince get testy over the years. What was that, Bob Costas all those years ago? And
oh yeah, and Armageddon and all those guys. Yeah.
I mean,
no, that was legit. Costas was like, he's trying to make me feel uncomfortable. Michael Landsberg. Yeah, he got a little ornery at a lot of different guys.
Right. So, and he's older now and might be even more ornery, but based on news in the last year or two.
He is sometimes not a great interview, but then other times, like Pat McAfee, he was awesome on that show.
Yeah, so he was.
So he can be a good interview.
And that was in a safe environment. Not that Joe Rogan's an unsafe environment, but he's not working for WWE, if that makes sense. Joe Rogan doesn't have guests on to try to poke and prod him and be controversial. He's just trying to get to know somebody, which is why this show's so interesting. Yep. That's why Kamala Harris didn't go on the show. Because, like, no, you don't need to get to know her because there's nothing there. I'm sure she's a nice mom or whatever, but, like, beyond that, like, no. Whatever Kamala Harris advisor told her not to do that show is still right, even though she lost the election. People say the opposite. But, Vince McMahon's a real guy. He could go on there. That would be interesting.
He would be great. I mean, there's a million freaking stories he could tell and talk about. And obviously, he's one of the greatest orators of all time. I mean, he's such a good talker. Obviously, he was the best heel during the Attitude Era. I mean, he's the man. But I think he'd be awesome on that show.
And even we were just talking about John Cena being sort of political and how he delivers answers. So what I would want to know as a fan from Vince McMahon is, hey, what do you think about the current WWE product? So A, I would want to know his honest opinion. B, is he going to give it, given his son-in-law's creative now, his daughter's, like there's all those factors.
He did rip, remember? He did rip apart the creative for Hogan. On the TMZ interview, he said horrible creative for Hogan. I wouldn't have had him do that at the Netflix thing. Like, so he will be, critical of it.
He was protecting one of his greatest creations, which was Hulkamania and all that. Yes. I think it was stupid for Hogan to come out in Los Angeles right after he'd done the Republican convention and got behind Trump. Like, what? Have y'all not paid attention to American politics? Like, this is going to happen.
And he's literally just doing a beer commercial going, and you know what, Macho Man would love real American beer. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah.
If that was in Mississippi or South Carolina or Texas, he'd have been all right. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, that is true. Like L.A. right after I don't know if he was, he was necessarily
on stage, Trump flexing, tearing off his shirt for Trump. If you're in Los Angeles, that's not going to work.
Cutting an awesome promo where he got a huge pop, by the way, and Trump said it was the best promo of the whole thing. So, well,
you got to give Hogan that.
Some people say it won Trump the election. I wouldn't go that far, but some people have said it.
No, I think it was. I remember years ago who was somebody running for high office. The girl I was dating at the time, her dad was a big NASCAR guy. He wasn't very political. I think he voted Republican, but wasn't, he wasn't like a talk radio Fox News guy, but he voted for this candidate because he heard the candidate like Dale Earnhardt.
Wow.
So, there's people that do stuff like that. Maybe somebody out there is like, man, I don't know about this Trump guy, but Hulk Hogan, I'm going to go vote for him.
Yeah, if Hogan likes this guy, yeah.
Right. So whatever.
Now, interestingly enough, talking about Trump, I wanted to bring this up to you and see if you even care, if this even registers. Let's see if this registers. Let's try this. Merry Christmas. He's bringing back Merry Christmas. He said it before. He's been saying it again. Does that register with you? Or you're like, who cares? That's so stupid. But a lot of people seem to be like, yeah, he's bringing back. Like, there's a lot of people seem to be like nutty about it.
I agree with it in principle. My question would be, do you need to bring it back? Not that I say Merry Christmas. Everywhere I go, I don't say Happy Holidays, I say Merry Christmas. But like the whole war on Christmas narrative that was kind of a big thing 7 or 8 years ago, I don't know to the degree that that was real. I'm sure you could find some blue areas or some woke stores or something that like had some weird aversion to traditional Christmas, whether it's religious aspect or just cultural, different Santa, things like that. If Trump wants to do that, that's fine. But I don't, maybe it's because I'm in South Carolina more than anywhere else, but even in DC, like people would say Merry Christmas and there was Christmas stuff and it wasn't a problem. And anybody who did have a problem with it, you kind of made fun of, right? So I don't know. Yep. That's my experience. Do you see it differently, John? I don't know.
I was just like, I can't believe people are going that crazy that oh yeah, Christmas is back. And I was like, was it really ever gone? You know what I mean? Like, I guess to some people with the weird happy holiday stuff and the White House stuff, remember they were, doing all that weird stuff. But to me, I was like, I never paid any attention to it. It was always Merry Christmas.
Yeah, it was. I remember writing something about the war on Christmas years ago, and a lefty friend of mine was like, "This isn't real, dude." And I kind of was like, "Hey, he's kind of right. Like, why did I say this? This kind of thing?" But I was reading other things, and we all make mistakes or different directions. As far as a cultural or religious thing that Trump did recently, maybe let me see if this is on your radar, John.
Yeah.
Yep. This week was for Catholics the Solemnity of Mary is December 8th. That's the Immaculate Conception that Catholics celebrate. Mm-hmm. President Trump issued a statement celebrating it too. Why is that significant? It's the first time an American president has ever done that. Ever.
Wow. I didn't even know
Catholics, it was a big deal, specifically. I guess some Orthodox and whatever, people who with Marian devotion. But okay, I think that comes from, he would attend those Catholic dinners in New York. What's it, Martin? I can't think of it. They've been attended for years by high-profile Catholics, and J.D. Vance being a Catholic, the vice president. But even like JFK, who was Catholic, he didn't do that. He lived in a country that would have been more controversial than maybe it is now. But did you even know he did that?
No, it wasn't even on the radar.
So to me, that was sticking because a lot of evangelicals might not like that. I won't get into that whole riff, but I'm just saying Trump did that. That's cooler to me than, I'm bringing back Merry Christmas. Well, you're not really bringing it back because it hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah. So I got just a few topics here. Just I'm wondering if they're big news or small news or big news, little news, if it's kind of like on your radar or if it's really not. So Tim Walz, Minnesota, we know about obviously the Somalis and Oman, right. and seems like obviously the corruption there is out of control. He apparently was suing years ago anybody that was trying to look into what he was doing with the corruption stuff. So, I mean, we could say allegedly all day long. He's obviously up to something. Something's going on there. I don't know if he'll ever get in trouble. It seems like the good old boys club. Nobody ever gets in trouble, but it seems like maybe his political career might be over. Is this on your radar at all? This corruption, this fraud, this up to possibly $8 billion. Is this on the radar at all? Or is it just another story that'll go by the wayside?
No, it is. And a lot of conservatives are paying attention to it because it seems like the perfect example of Democrat-run cities and Democratic corruption. That is not to say that Republicans are not corrupt in so many ways. They are. I'm not saying that, but Democrats specifically, that is a very blue state, Minnesota. It was $1 billion taken from the state social services. It was food that was supposed to go to hungry children and the homeless, something about assistance for kids with autism. It was stuff like that. And it didn't go to them. It went to all these different scammers and fraudsters who built $1 billion, a lot of them coming out of the Somali population there, some of whom are legal, some are on overstayed visas.
And went to Somali terrorists too. They trailed it back.
So, and there's lots of tentacles to this. It's not like one person did this, Tim Walz knew about it. It's lots of different people, and they're still finding out. There was a story in the New York Post this week. It was a guy, he was in Canada. He got kicked out of Canada for fraud, scamming people there, doing stuff, welfare abuse. And then he came to the United States through New York, ended up in Minnesota. When he came to the United States, a member of the Minnesota Senate, who was a socialist Democrat, sort of gave him a recommendation that he should be allowed into the country. He did. And I think he was driving without a license. There was deportation orders from like 2004, but he's still here. And he was abusing the system. They think he's one of the people that got a piece of this $1 billion. The story in the New York Post was there's pictures of him with Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar, who's the representative.
Yes, smiling and stuff. Yeah.
So there's so many parts to this. And from a conservative perspective, I'm a libertarian, but just saying they're interested in, especially heading into the midterms, this is how Democrats operate. Whether that's fair or unfair, that's a different debate, but that's what they're doing with the story. And the situation itself is a mess and terrible and a waste of money and taxpayer funds and trust.
What about the U.S. waging kind of maybe an air or naval strike war against these drug cartels? A real, like, is this fake news? Is this really going on? Like, are they really killing people? Like, what is this on the radar here?
It's really happening, and it's wrong. It's wrong constitutionally because we're not in wartime. A war's not been declared by Congress. Fair enough. We haven't declared it since World War II. The Vietnam War was a police action, but you ask Vietnam veterans if that was a war or not. I think they might give you a different answer.
Of course.
So there was a military official this week. I can't remember who it was. Rand Paul tweeted this. He was basically saying this was a higher up general or whatever. He's like, the question of whether these boats have drugs or not is not my problem. His problem is you're using military wartime tactics against a criminal endeavor. In other words, he thought it was an abuse of the military and what he was, supposed to do, his duty, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. These boats themselves, the Coast Guard has said that the Venezuelan boats around there, whatever, that they encounter, about 71% of them are legit drug dealers and about 19% are not. And what our government is doing is just bombing anybody they see and saying they're all drug dealers. Well, what if they were fishing and we just bombed the hell out of them? And we're using wartime tactics in a time we're not at war. You see how it can get very dangerous very quickly. The people who are like, hell yeah, bomb them all, we don't care. So same people wanted to go to Iraq war. They want to bomb Venezuela right now. They want to have troops in Iran. They want troops in Ukraine. Those people are always for this stuff, and they're dangerous. It's the people that Trump said he would not be like. But that's where we are with this. I hope we don't put troops on the ground in Venezuela. And in the meantime, we're bombing boats, and we're just declaring. John, one of these boats that was not bombed, and they just captured the people, two of the people aboard, once they inspected or interviewed or talked to them, they just let them go. They could have easily just been bombed and dead. The two survived September Venezuela coast bombing. They bombed a boat they thought were drug dealers. The survivors were like holding on to capsized smaller boats or something, just trying to survive. And then we did a double tap and killed them. Those guys could have been like the other guys were like, once they interviewed them, they just walked away. But no, we just decided, hey, the same general I was talking about, because Hegseth's original justification for bombing these guys is they might have been using radios to signal other drug dealers. Well, they might have been using radios to say, hey, I'm drowning. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, been shot or whatever. Yeah.
And the military official I'm talking about, who I wish I could remember their name right now, said they didn't even have radios. That was his testimony before Congress. So what is that? We're just killing people willy-nilly. So,
man, it's crazy. These drug cartels, whatever, and obviously their excuse is that they're killing 300,000 Americans with drugs in the country, but they were the ones that kind of like let them in to begin with.
Well, yeah, fentanyl is doing that. 90% of which comes from Mexico, not Venezuela. Our leaders are making that up as justification to going into and controlling this oil-rich country, Venezuela. That's what's going on.
Always,
if it's really fentanyl,
regime changes, yeah, right.
Mexico, right.
Always something with these regime changes. Oh, something's always up.
Jon Stewart, I just did a video on this. He did the Daily Show this week. He had people on Fox News and elsewhere calling these boats floating WMDs, that they supposedly had fentanyl. And that's what the justification for war in Iraq. They had WMDs, right? Which we know is complete BS at this point.
Yeah.
Jon Stewart had clips, the lead up to the Iraq war, which we invaded, of what Bush officials were saying then and what Trump officials now, and it's identical. Whether it's WMDs, how quick is the war going to be? Dick Cheney saying, oh, I don't think it'll be a tough fight. Somebody else saying, oh, it'll be a case. People saying now, oh, in Venezuela, it'll be a 1-2 punch. We're out. Did it, same thing. Same lies, same neocon garbage.
One final thing, one final story here. Netflix buys WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery, for about $82 billion. Then obviously they were going to break it off, and I guess the linear channels will be Discovery Global. So there's a whole deeper thing here. But basically, what do you think? Is this on your radar? Will this affect AEW, or will the deal not go through and AEW's contract will be up by then?
Yes and no. Any and all of that. We just don't know. How it will affect AEW? I think if to the degree that it does, it'll be further out. I don't think anything will be immediate. I mean, we don't know. It would be weird for Dynamite and Raw to be both on Netflix. I don't think that's happening. The thing I always think about with any things happening and changing in the business environment as it relates to AEW specifically is AEW is owned by the Khan family. WCW was owned by Turner Broadcasting.
Yep.
It was a TV company owning their TV wrestling show. If a contract is broken with the Khan family, they can figure something else out or have lawyers, whatever. In other words, they own it, and Tony Khan's going to be protective of it. So as far as AEW and their situation in this environment, I think we're going to be okay long term just because I know how much Tony Khan cares about it or believe he does.
He's got a lot of money. A lot of money.
That's the best. And wrestling fans should take solace in that. This is not in the South. I would say millions of people who love professional wrestling when WCW went away quit watching. That was their wrestling. Yep. So I don't think we're in danger of that happening again with AEW.
Well said. So let's wrap this bad boy up and head towards the plugs. You follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. How about you, Jack?
You can find me on X at JackHunter74 for my videos and any other nonsense I spout on a regular basis.
Nice. Love it. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. See you right back here next week for a little Capital and Kayfabe. We'll see you